talk about more. I've had a bit more success. These carbs making some seriously cool noises. Esther, my Mk1 Escort, now had a check through the post.
It feels so good to be behind the wheel.
Now, without further ado, check out my new project. Hello and welcome to this video. I'm Marcus Hayes, and in this video I will be showing you my new project, which loads of you have been asking about. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys think of it and also sharing the progress of the build here on the channel. Before all that, I need to turn my attention to my favourite car, Esther, my Mk1 Escort, but before that I want to briefly talk about Aaaand. Now, I've had a bit more success with her new ST170 engine since the last video, and I will go into more detail about that in a future video. But for now, there is one thing I want to mention. A lot of people have been asking, you know, why am I going with bike carbs? Some people saying that these bike carbs are no good and that's why I've got given them for free, and some people saying that bike carbs in general are no good. Well, I've never had bike carbs on a car, and I think it's always cool to try something new. But those who have been watching my videos a while will remember that these bike carbs were actually given to me for free by a guy called Johnny Bamber. Shout out to you if you're watching, mate. Now, it's worth noting that they were actually given to me 18 months ago. And before Johnny gave them to me, he fully stripped them down, cleaned every single component, and then reassembled them for me, which I really, really appreciate. He literally spent days on them. Now, you need to realise that some of the components inside carburetors, for example, the float valves, are actually lubricated by the fuel when they're being used. Now, the fact that I've stuck them on the shelf in my garage for 18 months without putting fuel through them probably explains why certain bits are seizing up, like the float valves. But I am confident, in fact, I'm certain that you will be able to hear these carbs making some seriously cool noises very soon on the channel. Now, before we look at the new car, I need to turn my attention briefly to Esther, my Mk1 Escort. Those who have been watching my videos will remember that a few months ago, some numpty crashed into the back of me while Esther was broken down at the side of the road. Now, the good news is that I've now had a check through the post from the insurance company of the guy that crashed into Esther, and I've spoke to the specialist that I've chosen to do the work, and she should be able to go in within the next 2 or 3 weeks, which is cool. Now, the reason that Esther was broken down in the first place was due to her driver's side half shaft, or more specifically the driver's side rear wheel bearing, which is pressed onto the half shaft, and in fact the passenger side half shaft is also showing signs that it's going to fail. Now, for those of you that are new to the channel, I'll be able to explain in a minute exactly what did happen with the driver's side half shaft, because today I'm going to be swapping out the half shafts for these ones, which were very kindly lent to me by my friends David and Danny Coogan. And a massive thanks and a shout to you guys if you're watching. Now, unfortunately, Aaaand is currently sitting on 4 out of the 5 axle stands that I own. So I'm going to have to do Esther's half shafts one side at a time, which is possible because she's got an open diff fitted, so you're able to spin one wheel while the other one's on the ground. So yeah, let's crack on with switching these half shafts. And I do have the front wheels chocked so that I'm able to release Esther's handbrake. That's annoying. They normally just pull out by hand with my cars because they come out so often. Now, this is not a scrap wheel, so I'm just going to hit the tyre. It's flat, which doesn't help. The wood up there knocking at the actual wheel. Let's put a bolt in here to hold this up so it doesn't put strain on the brake pipes. So this is the half shaft I've just removed from Esther. Basically what happened is this collar, which is just a press fit, basically slid off, and then that allowed this bearing to slide up, which essentially meant that the rear wheel moved outwards, and it actually moved outwards enough so that the spline end of the half shaft came out of the diff and I lost drive. Now, I've actually tapped this back down, which was worryingly easy. I'm guessing that this bearing retaining collar and the other one, as I say, because the other one started to go, wasn't made at precisely the right size. Either that or the half shaft itself is worn. But yeah, there's no gap there now, but yeah, that gap was like this much between the bearing and where it's supposed to seat. But as I say, I've hammered this down so it looks all right at the moment. So now I need to fit this one to the driver's side. I basically labelled this one when I took these out of the Coogan's spare axle, because you need to make sure they go back in the same side. Otherwise, it puts strain one way on the spline, and then if you put it on the other side, it puts strain the other way, and then this bit can snap off. And this is the bit that normally fails on half shafts. But yeah, I'm gonna clean up this bearing a bit. There's a lot of rust there and stuff. And then throw this in Esther's axle. Give it a very, very light sand. And then hit it with some carb cleaner, because I've got no brake cleaner there. Sharper spray as well. Let's throw it in the axle. Alright, so that's one side done. And now there's plenty of space between the tyre and the arch, which is how it should be. I'm actually going to be getting both rear arches rolled whilst the damage is being repaired, so that when she comes back and I fit my freshly powder coated black Revolution alloys, I can put a spacer on the back and improve the fitment. Now I've only put 2 wheel nuts on this side because my half shafts, this side one is metric and the other side is imperial, whereas the 2 that the Coogans lent me are both imperial. And I managed to find 2 imperial Revolution wheel nuts in my garage, and what I'll do is, once I've changed the other side, I'll nick 1 from that side, so I've got 3 on either side. And then what I'll do is, before I refit my half shafts, once I've had new bearings pressed on them, I will replace the studs in the passenger side one for metric studs, and then the whole car will be metric, because the front hubs have metric studs in them already. Anyway, I'm gonna crack on with the other side now, off camera, and then I think I might actually take Esther for a little spin around the block. All right, so that's the other side done. This side was a lot easier. The half shaft just pulled out, and as I mentioned, I've got 3 wheel nuts on each side on the rear. Just letting Esther warm up before I take her around the block. I better have a look at the fuel situation actually, because I've drained most of it out. There's still enough in there for a little rip. Maybe I'll stop at the garage and just put a few quid in. While she is warming up, I'll just show you the half shafts for those that are new to the channel. As you can see, there's a gap there between the bearing and where the bearing should be. This is the actual one that failed, but as I say, I was able to tap that one down. Interestingly, this one I wasn't able to tap down with a hammer and chisel, so it's loose enough for it to slip off, but not loose enough for me to tap that down. But yeah, this one hadn't actually failed enough for the spline to come out the diff. Anyway, I can now get those bearings replaced at my leisure, get the wheel studs changed on this one so they're both metric, and I might actually get Inky at Inky's Autos to tack weld the retainers on this time.
Now, obviously there's no point taking Esther to Mexico today because she has an open diff, but it feels so good to be behind the wheel for the first time since the accident. Enough. Let's get back to the garage and I'll show you the new car.
It was so much fun getting back behind the wheel of Esther for the first time since the accident. But now, without further ado, check out my new project. Right, now I'm sure some of you are wondering why another Mk1 Escort 4-door, but I absolutely love Mark 1 and Mark 2 Escorts, and the two doors are way above what I can afford. And to be honest, I wasn't actually looking for a car. This one found me. The previous owner, Danny Goodall, who we have seen on the channel before when I went to visit him to check out this car and his mint Mark 2 Fiesta XR2 that has been in his family since new. He contacted me and said I could have first refusal, and the price was right. So once I went down to remind myself what this car was like, I pulled the trigger straight away. And a couple of weeks ago, my friends Danny and David Coogan gave me a hand collecting the car for me and dropping it here at my garage. Massive thanks to Danny and David Coogan, and also shout out to Danny Goodall if you're watching as well. So I think now I'll walk around the car and show you exactly what it is, and then I'll go into my future plans. So what we have here is a 1981 Mark 2 Escort 1300 GL from Portugal, and there's actually one cool feature about this car because it's an import, which isn't fitted to the car at the moment, but I'll show you in a minute. The original colour is beige, and I intend to keep it that colour, and it came with a full brown interior. And I think these cars look so cool when they're beige with a brown interior. And yeah, the interior is in actually quite good shape, so I do intend to keep the original interior in it. The car is pretty solid. Obviously, Danny had started doing the prep work and stuff. Apparently, the whole car, apart from the roof, has been bare metaled, and it's been etch primered and 2-pack primered. And you can see that a lot of, you know, sanding down and stuff has been done. But yeah, the car looks relatively straight. There is a little bit of rust, which I'll show you in a minute, and a little bit of welding that isn't great, that may end up getting redone. But again, I'll show you that in a minute. Now, I've got loads of spares in the boot. Apparently, this car is pretty much complete, but there are a few things that are missing. As you can see, it doesn't have a set of front wings, and it doesn't have an engine and gearbox, and it also doesn't have the front screen, but it's got all the rest of the glass. I'm hoping that all the door handles are in the boxes and all the little things like that. But yeah, there is certainly a lot of parts in the boot. I've got the chrome trims that go down the side, which won't be getting put back on, but I can sell those on. But yeah, overall, it really is a solid little Mark 2 Escort 4-door. Underneath, which I will show you in a minute, the scabs of rust have been ground away, and the whole thing has been undersealed or raptored or something. But yeah, that was one of the reasons why I decided to go for this car, because it does seem pretty solid underneath. I haven't actually jacked it up and had a proper look yet, but when it was at Danny's, it was on, you know, wheel dollies, and I was able to poke my head under, and yeah, it really does look solid. But as I mentioned, there is a few bits of rust that I've found, so I think I'll go around now and show you what I've found so far. Now, I don't know what's going on with this front panel, but there's definitely some rust showing here, and I can see like grind marks and stuff. At some point it's had these parts of the front panel replaced, but yeah, if you look in here, there's quite a lot of surface rust under the slam panel and stuff. That's normal, to be honest. You know, Ford didn't put a lot of paint in there when these cars were new. If you come around here, there is something going on here. I don't know whether a plate's been welded in or what, but I'm gonna dig it out just to see what's what. You know, as long as it's metal, I'll leave it. I'm not bothered. Yeah, I need to dig that out. I did notice here, it's a bit crispy. I'm not afraid to poke holes in it, because it'll all be getting sorted. Yeah, that's definitely a bit weak down there. And when I went to view the car, I'm sure I saw a bit on one of the kick panels, but I can't seem to find where it was now. As you can see, it's had some wing rails and stuff. I'll open the bonnet in a minute so we can have a look in there. But yeah, all the A-pillars and stuff look quite solid. Danny was telling me that it had seals, and the front part of it, he wasn't happy with the shape, so I think it's, you know, I had a bit of filler to tidy that up. But there is one bit of rust in here that's been welded, which is a pretty ropey job, to be honest. Just there. I mean, it's such a small patch, and you know, it's solid, so I'm not really worried about it. I'm hoping that when I pull off all this sound deadening, there's nothing hidden behind there, because obviously this can soak up moisture. But yeah, it is really solid. All the inner seals, all solid. You know, it genuinely is a really, really solid car. One other thing it doesn't have is a carpet, but you can get those new. Now, if I go round to the passenger side, there was a little bit of rust I discovered in here, which is, you know, where they normally all go anyway. I can't find it now. Yeah, I think around here it really is minimal. inner lip's gone in places. The outers seem solid. There's a bit down there, it looks like it's had a patch down there. But yeah, it's all minimal, really minimal. I do believe that this is a genuinely solid shell. This front door is obviously in bare metal, so it has to be DA'd and primered. But yeah, one cool feature about this car that isn't fitted, that I mentioned a minute ago, actually is to do with the front doors. These aren't the original front doors, but I do have them in here. And they've got the opening quarter light windows. Haven't actually tried to open these yet, but don't actually know how it's done. I don't want to break them. You know, if they're a bit stiff, I can worry about that later on. But yeah, they have opening quarter windows in the front doors, which is really cool. Here's the other one. Let's see if we can get this one open. Oh, do they pull or push? I can't get them windows open, but they are a cool feature. These doors do need a bit of work. They're rusty at the bottom and stuff. But yeah, I'm not sure if these opening quarter light windows are able to be fit to the other doors or whether the doors themselves are different. Do let me know in the comments if you know, because if I can fit those opening quarter lights into the doors that are already fitted to the car, I'll definitely be keeping them. But if not, I think those opening quarter lights go for quite a lot of money, so it's another thing that I could sell on. And yeah, this is the original colour. Obviously very faded, not very shiny anymore, but yeah, I really love hearing aid beige on a Mk1 Escort. Cut this cable tie on the boot lid. And yeah, as you can see, a boot full of spares. I'm not going to drag them all out now. Came with a fuel tank, which is handy. But yeah, hopefully most of the parts are there to put the car back together. There was a little bit of rust in the boot floor, like where one of the grommets goes, and I just plan to basically drill it out and put a bigger grommet there. I'm not fussed about making this into a show winner. I might be able to get underneath and show you the rust actually. That's what I was talking about. As you can see, it really does look like a solid shell. I'll jack it up in a minute and we'll have a better look. Now, when I went to view the car and when I went to pick the car up, it was empty, so I have had a good look at the shell as much as I can. But for me to realistically have space for this car, I needed to get everything in the car, which is why, you know, I fitted the interior, and then we've got like the glass wrapped up in this underlay in there, and then some, you know, door cards and stuff here, and then the rest of the parts in the boot. Just cut these cable ties as well. I can show you a little bit of the passenger side inner seals. These are obviously the chrome trims that go down the side of the car. Definitely be selling those on. I need to have a better look at them and see what condition they're in. These are like the pillars for the doors. I'll just give those a paint up. Got some of the other chrome trim here. I don't know how much of it is savable, but definitely won't be fitting any of the chrome trim. But yeah, I know you can't really see much in here, but inner seals are solid, floor's solid. There's the rear part of the floor where a lot of water collects when you get leaks. Solid, really, really solid. And I know I've said it already, but I'm going to say it again. I love the brown interior. So happy that it's not ripped and stuff. You know, Maud's rear seat was all ripped up here, and yeah, even the parcel shelf looks like it will go again. Maud's is damaged. It's actually got the speakers drilled in it on Maud's as well. But yeah, this is such a cool car in my opinion. Just show you the engine bay. Let's get something to prop that up. It's worth noting as well, this bonnet is really, really solid. Look, no rust along there like they normally. Danny was really proud of this bonnet, and so am I. Absolutely mint. I'll just show you the boot lid as well while I think of it. Get a light on it, but yeah, look, they're normally all rotten along there. This one is absolutely mint. Anyway, back to the engine bay. There is, you know, a bit of surface rust here and there, around here and stuff, but it all does seem solid. Get around here. Nothing major in the rear corners there. As I say, this has had work to the wing rails at some point. Bit of surface rust up there, but yeah, nothing to worry about really at all. Still got the chassis number. There is something going on down here, which is the other side of what I said, you know, in that inner wing. Definitely a patch been put in. So I'm definitely going to dig that out and investigate. But as I say, if it's solid, it will stay. If not, we'll cut it out and replace it. Chassis rails solid. It really, really is, in my opinion, a really solid car. The battery tray's a lot better nick than the Maud's is. Yeah, really, really happy with this shell. But it is obviously going to need, you know, quite a lot of work before it can see the road again. So let's talk about my plans. I'm not thinking too far ahead. I think sometimes us car guys think too far ahead of the project, and then, you know, it's better to just look at what's in front of you. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is go round where some of the prep work has been done. I'll give it a tickle with sandpaper, maybe some rust treatment, and then get something on those bits, because I really don't want to have to re-bare metal this whole shell. Probably, you know, rust treat it, then a bit of etch and a bit of epoxy primer, because I've heard that's really good at holding back rust and stuff. And that's the only thing I'm really planning to do before I actually send this off to the professionals. She's already booked in with KEMBER at CLUMPFAB in January, so I've got a couple of months to do what I need to before then. It needs a set of front wings, which will be bolt on, the same as Maud's. I may as well add the RS strengthening pieces, which go here and here, and I'll probably get the number stamped in the RS top plate, unlike I did with Maud. That little bit of rust in the inner arch there will be done by Chris as well. And yeah, I'll just get him to look over the whole car, and if he sees anything else that needs doing, he can sort that out as well. Oh, one thing worth noting, this door here needs a bit near the hinge. Just looking at this passenger side inner wing, definitely had some patchwork done there, which doesn't look all that bad, but I'm sure Chris will be able to tell me exactly how good it is. So yeah, once this car comes back from CLUMPFAB, my good friend Rob has said he's going to help me with the paintwork. Massive shout out to you if you're watching, Rob. And what I've suggested to Rob is that we just focus on the inside of the car, in the boot and the engine bay, and maybe the door shuts and things like that. And then what that means is I can put the whole car together, and then we can worry about painting the outside at a later date. And that also means that, you know, I don't have to worry about accidentally scratching the outside while I'm actually building the car up. I've said to Rob that the job on the inside and in the boot doesn't have to be great. You know, we'll just do a wet on wet job in there. As long as it's beige, that's all that matters. But I would like to try and make the engine bay look a little bit neater. And once I get an engine, I will obviously paint it up, and it might end up with some zinc bolts and stuff just to make the engine bay look a bit pretty. And it will be getting an obligatory colour-coded rocker cover. So while we're on the subject of engines, you might be wondering what engine I plan to fit to this car. Well, I've actually decided that I'm just going to throw a 1300 Crossflow in it with a 4-speed box. I should be able to pick one up relatively cheaply. And the reason I'm going down that route is because I actually intend to build this car as a daily. Now, obviously, Maud, when she isn't broken, is my daily at the moment. But she's obviously been modified over the years. Although when I did first get Maud, I did kind of promise myself that I was just going to lower it, keep it as a Crossflow. But, you know, plans change. But I really do think that now that I've got Maud and Esther, I will be able to keep this third car relatively standard. It will definitely be getting some lows, and it will probably end up wearing these Revolutions that are currently fitted to Esther, because she obviously has the freshly powder coated black Revolutions that will be going on once she gets back from having her damage repaired. And those Revolution alloys were powder coated by Microblast Services in Windsor, and I'll leave links to their social media in the description. If you need any powder coating doing, definitely get in touch with Microblast Services. But yeah, this car, apart from some lows and some wheels, she's pretty much going to stay standard. I would like to, you know, have the door handles and wing mirrors and all that sort of stuff, and the bumpers done black rather than chrome. Maybe she'll end up with round headlights, which is something so many of you have said that I should do to Maud. And maybe she'll end up with one of those front spoilers. I don't know yet. As I've mentioned, I'm just focusing on what's in front of me at the moment, and that is rust repair and painting the insides, and then focusing on putting the car together. Now, I'm not in a rush to get myself a 1300 Crossflow engine, but if there's anyone out there who is just about to swap their 1300 powered Escort and put a Z-Tech or a Pinto or anything in it, and I can actually hear it running, then I would definitely be willing to pull the trigger now and buy an engine. But if not, I'll wait until, you know, next summer. So yeah, get in touch if you do have a running 1300 Crossflow that you're going to be ripping out of your Classic soon. As always, I'll leave my email address in the description if you do need to get in touch with me. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I need to mention about the new car at the moment. Obviously, you'll be able to get a better look at her as she goes through the build. You know, I will be obviously covering everything that happens to this car on the channel, and it's actually the first time that I'll be covering a project right from the start, because these two were obviously already owned by me for a number of years before I started being a YouTube idiot. Anyway, I think what I'm going to do now is jack up the new Mk1 Escort so that I and you can have our first look underneath. That's mad, because it's so light at the front without an engine in it. You jack up one side and the other side front's up in the air as well. Now, I'm not going to get right under there because we've got no axle stands under it, but if you look at the seals, she is solid. I don't know what's going on here. Maybe that shows that it has had a patch in there or something. I don't know, but yeah, it does look really solid. And as I say, it's already been coated with something. Try and show you the driver's side a bit. Yeah, really, really solid floors. Chassis rails are all solid. Got the reverse light switch wiring hanging down there. I'll try and get underneath the rear end a bit. Yeah, all the chassis rails are solid. It really is a solid old shell. Spare wheel well, solid. I can't remember whether there was any welding in the wells. Car's full of parts, so I can't be bothered to empty at the moment. All very solid. Minute bit of rust there in the front corner. I always drill my cars around here just in case the rear light seals leak rain inside and it can just drain out. Yeah, really, really, really solid. Solid boot floor, apart from that bit of rust near the grommet hole like I showed you earlier. I remember when I first decided to buy this car, I think it was just before me and Kat went to Northern Ireland, and then I went to Northern Ireland and I had all these plans of, you know, putting big arches on this car and putting a cage in it and stuff. But yeah, once I'd actually thought about it, I think this car is too good to do that sort of thing to. And if I was going to do any of that sort of thing, I should do it to Maud. And if the new car does become my daily, then maybe I can think about turning Maud into more of an out-and-out drift car, cage it, maybe arch it. I don't know, but that's way in the future. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I can show you with regards to the new project. Do let me know what you reckon, and obviously as the build goes on, you'll be able to get a closer look at the car. And I'm really hoping to have this car on the road by next summer, but we'll see how that goes. Now, I'm actually going to a car meet this evening at the Ace Cafe. So from now until then, I think I'm going to have a little bit of a fiddle with Maud and crack on with that behind the scenes. And I'll catch up with you when we're on our way to the Ace Cafe. All right, so a few hours have passed and my beautiful girlfriend Kat came down with a change of clothes so I can head to the Ace Cafe straight from the garage. It's getting a bit cold, so I've dug out my MH beanie. This is one of last year's beanies, but I do have some new ones coming very soon. Looking forward to a chilled out evening at the Ace Cafe. Gonna grab some food and check out some other cool Fords. But whilst I'm there, I will put together a little montage on Kat's phone because my camera is useless at night. Hello, right, so we just got back home from an epic evening at the Ace Cafe. The meet was organised by a group called the North London Passion Ford Group, and I'll leave links in the description to their social media and stuff. Yeah, it was a really cool evening. I didn't do much filming, but I didn't intend to be honest. We had a burger inside the cafe and checked out some really cool Fords and got chatting to loads of cool Ford owners. It was really cool to get back behind the wheel of Esther today after so long, but there is a couple of issues that I'd forgotten about because obviously haven't been driving her. She's got an oil leak from the sump. I know, story of my life, but I remembered on the way home after putting Esther away that I only barely got her on the dyno after I found a leak at the front corner of her sump. And yeah, I bodged it with sealer, but I haven't added the 2 bolts to the front and 2 bolts to the rear of Esther's sump, and it's still got the rubber type gasket that I had tried on both cars, and it turns out they're no better than the cork ones. And if the CT1 sealer ends up working on Maud, I will put that sealer on Esther's sump, add the bolts and fit a cork gasket from Kit Car Spares, I think it is, which is a bit thicker than the one that Neil Dunn supplies. Also, I need to bleed Esther's brakes and her clutch. The brakes are scary and the gearbox is a bit crunchy. Now I'm going to be contacting the specialist that's going to be repairing Esther's damage. His name's Gavin Pink, and I'm sure loads of you would have heard of him, especially you guys that are on Facebook. Everyone I speak to about Esther's damage says that he's a genius and he's definitely the man for the job. And I've got to be honest, everyone I speak to about Esther's damage says that it would be a shame to cut off her original rear quarter panel, so maybe I'll end up just getting it repaired, and I've heard that Gavin Pink is the man for the job if it can be done. Now I'm going to be contacting Gavin to let him know that the car is now ready for him to do the work whenever he's ready to do it, but when I spoke to him the other day, he said that he can probably get it in within the next couple of weeks, which is good. Garry Bull is already in the process of manufacturing a new carbon fibre ducktail boot lid and rear bumper for Esther, as well as another couple of bits of carbon fibre. And if any of you guys are in the market for any carbon fibre parts for your Mk1 Escort, I highly recommend that you get them from Garry Bull, and I'll leave links to his social media in the description of this video. Now in the next video, I'll bring you up to speed with everything that's been happening with Maud behind the scenes, but I'm definitely getting somewhere now with her new engine setup. So yeah, it should be some positive stuff to show you in the next video. So for now, I'm going to end this video here. If you did think it was any good, please do give it a thumbs up and a share. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Click subscribe to keep up to date with all my future uploads, and check the links in the description to my social media and my website. I'll also leave my email address down there for anyone who wants to contact me. Massive thanks, as always, to each and every one of you for your continued support of my channel. But other than that, until next time, from me and my beautiful girlfriend Kat, thanks for watching.